2,600 years ago. The headlines in the Bible written by the prophet Ezekiel describe the condition of the Middle East right now exactly.
Like the nuclear weapon moment on the geopolitical stage. When do you think? I'm going to have to try to pin you down to a date on the AGI timeline.
When you see the dread, when you see the evil and the ugliness that is just beneath the surface, society is such an illusion. The more that we lean on our own ability to improve ourselves, the less we believe in God's control over events. The message of the gospel is that God is in control.
Check, check. Everything cycles. We live in the ruins of belief. Not to be too apocalyptic, but feels like we're nearing the end of the line here. The only future, is the end of the world.
Get this picture in your mind. The Battle of Armageddon is in play.
I don't believe in atheists.
I'm curious how religion acquired this charmed status that it has compared to any of these other things. I mean, somehow we've all bought into it, whether we're religious or not.
I don't believe in atheists, and I thought this would be a really provocative thing to say, except that these days, atheists don't even believe in themselves anymore.
I must say I was slightly horrified to hear that Ramadan is being promoted instead. I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer. You know, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos.
If there are real atheists, they're locked up in asylums somewhere.
And not only does it make a great deal of sense, it's also layered with the wisdom of millennia. And so, like you, I did mock faith in general, and probably Christianity in particular, but I don't do that anymore.
I may have given up wanting to be Jesus Christ, but I'm going to give as best a shot as I can give at being Paul.
So if you're worried we're going to turn into one of these religious debate Genesis type of channels, don't worry. I don't care about Genesis. I can prove to you that God exists with a parking lot. If you have seen a parking lot, you too have seen the face of God.
The ways, the means, freedom of movement for all, symbol of democracy. And behind it all,
anyway, everything I've said so far I believe, okay? How to define religion, how do we do that? What does religion actually mean? Because the way I see it, we got this term really messed up. We think it means arguing whether God exists and whether he's doing stuff.
As an agnostic atheist, I don't know if God exists and I don't believe that a God exists. And the only ones that I would really reject would be like the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good, perfect notion of God that plenty of Christians like prescribe themselves.
What typical Christians?
Yeah, typically when I talk to Christians, they say that they believe in an all-knowing.
How about Cardinal Newman, who defined God as conscience?
Sure. So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Now, I do semiotics mostly, and if you know about semiotics, it means I'm kind of not allowed to say that everyone's using a word wrong, because if everyone's using a word wrong, then that's the meaning of the word. But I'm going to carve out an exception to semiotics for myself, of course, and say that everyone else is using the word religion wrong.
It isn't something that's associated with logical consistency. It's not declarative. It's not propositional. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's the presupposition of your attention and your action.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Now these are religions, not really religion. These are simulations. They're all but meaningless. I'm sorry to have to break this to you. But what matters is that we're going to be seeing, a massive explosion of religious fervor, of faith, new faith.
The Christian framing is Antichrist or Armageddon. You have the one world state of the Antichrist, or we're sleepwalking towards Armageddon. I have a lot of thoughts on this topic.
Which is terrifying, of course. It's always terrifying when people actually believe things.
As a practicing Catholic.
But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fascinating. Here's some of the latest prophecy on offer.
Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Grace Solomon, and I channel Erixum, a seventh dimensional light being collective from the star system of Sirius. And I asked them what was going on with Taylor Swift.
It's time for our political leaders in Washington to butt out of Israel's war with Hamas and to permit Israel to win this war once and for all.
If you've been like manifesting and you're like, oh, but like it's not working. Well, the law of attraction is the only law that like exists, so it is working.
The way I understand, the Judeo-Christian inspiration is it is about transcending nature. It is about overcoming things. And, the cryonics thing, that seems like a retro thing from 1999. There isn't that much of that going on. So they're not transhumanists on a physical body. From a Christian point of view, these people are not ambitious enough.
Those of us who have followed Q since the beginning will be here to help you make sense of the coming events. We are among the first to realize that our petty partisan divisions are just trivial distractions, and we are all enslaved by a hidden enemy.
So you can have big religion, you can have small religion, you can have private cult, you can have public cult. But before we got here, for most of my life, we were just stuck in a cloud or a sky simulation. It's kind of boring. It's just the end of history simulation. Now today, there is no sky. Religious unconscious has fractalized into every conceivable type of millenarian cult, and they're all like jostling for position here where we stand at the end of reality. So check out this word, millenarianism. Millenarian cults, they're animated by a sort of death drive. The desire is for the end of the world. Christianity is the most famous millenarian cult. Cargo cults, we're going to get to those. QAnon, they're all having their day. And now the end of the world is going to be brought about by Jesus again, I guess. Didn't finish last time. Maybe the end of the world is going to be caused by ChatGPT. Decided it's answered enough of your stupid questions. Or Trump, who half of the people in America agree is going to bring about the apocalypse himself. Personally, I have good reason to doubt this because all of the previous predicted ends of the world with dates, they didn't happen. But QAnon, as far as cults go, I love QAnon. I truly do. As a demonstration of spontaneous, creative, religious energy, they have the prophets, they have secret wars, they have the end of the world, the anointed one arriving to sweep away evil, wickedness, corruption. They even brought back numerology.
So Junior and Carolyn were married on September 21st. Now 921 is uranium-1 because uranium's 92 on the periodic table. Uranium-1, which 92 and 1 is 93. The Pope wears red shoes. Red shoes 93. We all know the material of those shoes. Those shoes are made from human skin, baby skin shoes. And Trump told him to wear those red shoes when he came and handed over his power to Trump.
And who can forget about the apparent world of celebrities being replaced by holograms? That's widespread Gnosticism. And as a group, spontaneously, like an organism, they just recycled unconsciously 2,000 years of cult metaphysics. Now, I think it's pretty easy to predict that this is going to keep happening. And a lot of people are going to then wonder where in hell it's all coming from. But to theorize that, we need to remember what religion actually was before it was this stuff.
My first claim, atheists reject God, but they don't understand what they're rejecting.
This kind of stuff can only appear when the religion of the sky is failing, the status quo religion. When the old religion stops working, then the new religions have to come up and vacuum the followers into their different little cells. This almost always happens historically in response to crisis. So I'm saying, I got this from Durkheim. Society and religion, they can't work without each other. And that requires changing a little bit what we call religion, because none of these matter. And calling this stuff religion conceals what religion actually does, which is a lot. Religion and ritual divides general space into spaces. It divides time into a calendar. It changes time from a cyclical process to a linear process in some cases. And there's a good case to be made that religion is also the origin of what we call consciousness, too. I'm not going to get there today. But the analogy that I'll try here is that religion is an organic artificial intelligence. You know, like the bursting creativity that emerges from QAnon as a group. Individually, they're kind of wackos, they're misfits, but together they come and create this coherent structure of meaning that basically explains why they're good people for sitting on the computer all day. And making a structure of meaning that explains why you're a good person, even though you sit on the computer all day, that's like what most of us do. So to say that religion is a organic artificial intelligence, it processes like not individual fears, but kind of group fears, group anxieties, of course. But the majority of its function, even today, is to generate coherence, social coherence. This is the main thing I hope to convince you of, if you'll allow me. Religion is unconscious. We think of religion as if you walk into the religion aisle and then you choose either to pick one or to go home empty-handed. Now you're an atheist. Like J.D. Vance, right? God, J.D. Vance, who is a clown. He walks into the aisle. He walks into the religious supermarket, goes to the shelf, and picks whichever one of these makes him feel the best, and now he is that.
I hated the fact that I had these different addresses, which is something that really bothered me as a kid, and I think it was sort of reflective of the broader instability in my life. And yeah, that's certainly part of the appeal of the Catholic faith.
I don't know how this now works with the church like denouncing him, because the whole point of the thing over there is that the church is the authority on matters and not you. Now, the religion supermarket, that's not real religion. You don't choose real religion. You're not born into religion exactly, but you are trained in it, and it's coincident with your subjectivity. You don't have subjectivity without this kind of religion. We call it other things.
A cheerful good morning is a good way to start the day. Good manners will help toward a pleasant, happy day. And home is a good place to practice them.
Your religious programming gets installed at whatever, like 2 years old, 3 years old, and it's basically coincident with language.
These boys greet their dad as though they are genuinely glad to see him, as though they had really missed being away from him during the day and are anxious to talk to him. This is the time for pleasant discussion in a thoroughly relaxed mood. They don't pick this time of the day to spring unpleasant surprises on Dad. If they have disagreeable news, they'll postpone the discussion until another time. And this is no time to dun Father for a raise in your allowance, new clothes, or argue about other financial matters.
Like at the same time you're learning to talk, you're also learning to talk politely, to use the correct pronouns. You're learning to stand in line for the slide and not use force to get to the front of the line first. And it's in this way that no one gets to, choose to become a subject. You don't choose to become a subject of language, and you don't choose to become a subject of religion. You don't choose to learn it or not. But the you that you are now is you having had learned it. And you inherit it from, your family environment, social environment, whichever behavioral code eventually becomes you. So what does religion, in my accurate definition, look like as behavior? Original religion is prior to the rules being written down. And of course we know the rules are eventually written down. But prior to that, they get their syntax from somewhere else. They have like guideline structure, and if you do religion wrong, you're probably not going to go to jail, but people will look at you weird, your mom will get mad at you, you'll feel isolated, you'll feel observed, right? Religion is the reason that you wait in lineups for your turn. It's why you don't walk across the field when there's a sports game going on, even if it's just kids, right? It's why you are quiet and respectful during a performance. It's why you check your pits to see if they stink before going out. And it's why you give up the seat on the subway for the pregnant lady when she walks in. It's also why you go, sorry, if you bump someone's cart with your cart in the grocery store. A lot of grocery store analogies here. It's why you don't touch someone's food in the work fridge, even though you could get away with it. You know, it's just you in there. It's 11 o'clock at night, and 11 o'clock at night, you're still in the office. It's why you still go into the bathroom with your appropriate gender sign on it, even though no one else is there. It's watching you from inside your head. So yeah, that's a lot. These are all unwritten rules that virtually all people follow virtually all the time. So think of the parking lot. A parking lot would appear to an observer who doesn't know the rules to be very disorganized. There's everyone going every which way. There's carts, there's pedestrians, there's drivers. It looks very hectic if you don't know the rules. Luckily, most people know the rules. And despite all this chaos, usually no one dies. So there's the right side that you drive on. If someone is waiting for a spot, you cannot take it. If they have their blinker on, they're sitting, waiting, they get the spot. All of the true believers, which is most people, all the true believers are bringing their shopping carts back to the ritually decided spot for shopping carts, marked by a sign, of course. Here, cars yield for pedestrians most of the time, right? The polite ones, but not too many pedestrians because they don't have to wait too long. So how long is too long? No one knows. It's 30 seconds is pretty long. So everyone here is observing each other. Everyone is observing themselves too, to make sure that everyone else and yourself is following all these unwritten rules correctly. And almost everybody does behave correctly most of the time. It does happen here that someone breaks the rules. Like if someone takes the spot that someone else had their blinker on and they're waiting for it. Now this really happened to me like 3 days ago. So a guy took a spot. A girl thought that she was there first. Now who's to arbitrate? I don't actually know who was there first, but she got really pissed because he took her spot. She laid on the horn. She rolled down the window and called him a fucking I'm going to bleep that out because it's a slur. But that's what she said. Now slurs are against the religion. But she was offended on her own behalf, yes, but also on behalf of society itself because she believes she was following the code. He was not following the code. Her anger was righteous, and she felt that she had the right to also break the code and say a slur because he had broken the code first of taking the spot when she had her blinker on. This exchange, you'll know it as an eye for an eye. It goes way back to Hammurabi at least, but obviously way before that. If someone breaks the code, you have a zone of permissibility to also break the code back to them. You need to have a proportionate response. She can't roll down the window and shoot at him, but at least in her mind, she wouldn't normally use a slur, but because he had taken her spot, she is justified in eye for an eyeing and using a slur. So even though the parking lot, it looks dangerous, it looks chaotic, religion takes care of how people act in there. And a lot more than that too. We can see in the religions, teachings and rituals that refer back to this very basic human interaction type of stuff. And, in my view, everything that the religions do should be traceable back to the parking lot type morality. So one of the biggest examples is that religion's always concerned with sexuality. Every single one, or at least it was. I guess it's quite a bit less significant now than it was 100 years ago, but it's still a big one. Sexuality, the gender rules, these things define what is proper behavior.
First of all, daughter has changed from school clothes to something more festive. Dressing a little makes her feel and consequently look more charming. Even the table takes on a special air. Mother, too, changes from her daytime clothes. The women of this family seem to feel that they owe it to the men of the family to look relaxed, rested, and attractive at dinner time.
That means what you can wear, what your duties are, which bathroom you go in, and all of these guidelines emerge in every society that I can think of, at least, from the marriage ritual. And the marriage ritual, along with the death ritual, they're probably the most important ones that they have, because this is how every society physically reproduces and then remembers its own past. So for most of human history, how society is going to physically reproduce, and that it physically reproduces, it's a paramount importance. And we can recognize this and why it's still important to protect pregnant women or children, because pregnant women and children are metaphors of the future. So we have to be very vigilant for groomers and pedos. And yeah, QAnon was vigilant, maybe a bit too vigilant.
I expose people that literally and eat babies.
Another religious category that's really big that I'll bring up in another video is being clean, which is don't look dirty, don't smell dirty. Your clothes should be clean unless you have, a good reason not to.
I like my children to look nice and clean.
You have to make sure to wash your hands in the bathroom because the other is watching. It might be the other in your head or someone standing there. And again, for most of human history, being clean and getting cleaned regularly means that you're less likely to die of disease. So, pretty big motivation there. But what always happens is that these basic ideas get metaphorized in order to deal with cultural circumstances. And after religions have processed this for, hundreds, thousands of years, then it looks like this kind of stuff.
It was the practice of the Prophet ﷺ after one makes their intention is to wash their hands.
Now we maintain these rules that you have to be clean. We get it from TV commercials, your mom, your friends. They enforce your cleanliness as a kind of code still. But before we even knew the reason for it, before germ theory, religion gave you reasons to be clean. So religion made us clean before there was ever a conscious reason for it. Right parallel to cleanliness are the laws about where it's appropriate to shit. You don't want to shit where you sleep. You don't want to shit near your water supply. So there's almost always some sort of designated ritual shitting place. And look, it's only now that we know why this works. This accidentally worked for them. We know what germ theory is. We know what bacteria are, where they live. But the cleanliness rituals and the ostracization of dirty, smelly people, this started thousands of years before anyone ever knew what a germ was. Now, isn't that interesting? Like this is why I think religion is a form of artificial intelligence. It knew before we knew. And it finds the behavior that's beneficial, selects for it, it enforces it, unconsciously, all this psychoanalytic stuff. It exists there so that society can perpetuate. Whichever societies did not turn cleanliness into a value, they would not have made it this far. So yeah, we have the sexuality rules, we have the cleanliness rules, and another one of the most important ones in my trinity is how to avoid conflict and violence. Like, if you mess up on the road, if I mess up on the road, I do one of these. A wave, the mouth is pursed a little bit, but like look at metaphorically what this gesture means. If I cut someone off, right? So break this down. The wave, what does that mean? It shows that your hand is empty. It's an anti-aggressive gesture that's thousands of years old, I don't have a weapon. That's what it means. Same with the head nod. You go, You nod your head a little bit downward. What are you doing? You're submitting. And then what's the mouth thing? Like, what does this mean? I don't know. It's like a pursed, a pained smile. Maybe maybe you're demonstrating that, yeah, you're in a little bit of pain, or maybe it's just an anti-smile, right? If you cut someone off and you smile, then you're being an asshole. If you cut someone off and do like a pained anti-smile, then you're like, I'm sorry, I know that was my fault. Let's just go with that. Anyway, you see, the metaphors of politeness go all the way down into just physical expressions. The bow, the wave, they go all the way down into our expressions. And these are not things that are consciously thought out. They're almost automatic responses. Most people do this stuff most of the time. Different cultures for sure, they got different gestures. But if you don't do what's expected, you're considered antisocial or you're an asshole. And we didn't choose these rules, right? And the funny thing is that no one chose these rules. We inherited them from people who inherited them. And religion kind of does the same stuff, performs the same function no matter where you find it. And that is to justify social coherence and to give everyone incentives to do good. To do good just means to perform properly. The reason that we have this stuff is because 1,000, hundreds of years ago, whatever it is, these things worked. Now still, some of these things will work today. A lot of them won't though. You have to forget about a lot of this stuff. If you're JD Vance, converting to Catholicism is just entering the religion aisle and picking the most based one, or the one that makes you feel good.
That's a big part of it, especially the stability of it. I'm not just talking about the stability of the nuclear family, but the stability of an institution that has endured over 2,000 years, right? I mean, I think like most people, very aware of my mortality, and I kind of like the idea of being part of something that's existed over many generations and hopefully will endure for many, many generations to come.
So religions, these are the real estate religions. These are the ones that you have to go someplace on the weekend and you have to read one book more especially than the other books. None of them are right, but none of them are really wrong. What they can provide for you, I guess, is group therapy with some superstition and theology thrown in. When you're on YouTube, I don't know if you know how huge like religious debates were like 15 years ago. YouTube was all just cat videos and people debating religion. But this is not religion. This is debating theology, the existence of God, whether he's all-knowing, all good, all-powerful, blah, blah, blah. That's the Christian version of apologetics.
We have to define what we're talking about before we can just debate.
Okay, well,
right?
so here's my
I
position.
said that God, among other things.
I'm actually a non-theist. I'm not an atheist. I believe the human condition is one of uncertainty. And what that means is that I don't believe that you can conclude there is a God with certainty, and I don't believe that you can conclude that there is a God without in this.
That's theology. That's not religion. And religion is like 100,000 years older than theology. All right. And most people, the angry comments that are going to be down below, they're all too talking about theology. And theology is a reflective, intellectual activity that basically just justifies the thing that you already want to believe anyway, whether you're atheist, Trinitarian, monotheist. Now, that's not the religion that I'm talking about. Religious belief is pre-reflective and it's unconscious. And we all do it anyway. I'm almost tempted to say it's deterministic. Maybe one step below deterministic, whatever that is. And it's worth noting, of course, anthropologically, religion is like 100 times older than God is. Like, these guys, they aren't even human, and they're already doing religion. In its radical form, religion is burial rites and food laws. And even today, you can see that every human, everywhere, still does burial rituals and food rituals. Everyone gets a funeral, at least in principle, exceptions exist. You get a cake on your birthday, you take your date to a restaurant, you don't eat raw meat, except for the exceptions. But yeah, no matter what they are, they're different cross-cultural, but every human, pretty much, still has food rights going on. That's why I don't believe in atheists, at least when it comes to religion. Now we want to go to one more thing. Who is God if this is religion? God is a metaphor with many iterations, many layers. But if you go back, trace the evolution, what we call God, what we still call God in terms of this effervescent feeling, God is a metaphor for society, for society's coherence specifically. To believe in God, then, is to believe in society, that it has a future, that it's worth fighting for. And the opposite of that, an atheist would be not a metaphysical nihilist, but a moral nihilist. And as you well know, performing your religion, being good, has, in the past, meant human sacrifice, death sentences, genocides. These things were, for some reason, good at the time. Being good can mean both cleansing your hands of wicked deeds or cleansing your lands of wicked parasites. All right, I feel like I'm wrapping up here. I feel like I'm on the way. But I did want to say, religion does permit things like murder, death penalty, and ethnic cleansing, maybe. That's part of it. But the majority of every religion in every society is respect. Respect society, respect your parents or ancestors. If you respect the people around you, you can then expect that they'll respect you in return. If someone messes up, right, now we have a sort of backstop. Then we get into written codes. But prior to written codes, there's unwritten codes for what happens to you if you break the rules. Eye for an eye. Now, there's this one religious guy that you might have heard of, Jesus Christ. He came into a religious context that was a maze of rules and said, yo guys, actually, we only need 2 rules here. Respect God, respect others. That's all you need for religion. Then he died, and his followers made him into a labyrinthine religion with a maze of rules. And they're still doing that today. But think of it like this. Respect, the word respect, is etymologically very close to the word religion. One is to re-look, and the other is to re-observe. I mean, yeah, that's pretty damn close. Your religion is your respect. What do you respect? How do you demonstrate or show respect? And still today, the kernels of religion are holding doors open for pregnant women and old people. We shake hands when we are meeting somebody. We stand politely in line until it's our turn, and we return our shopping cart to the sacred cart area. If you're an atheist, of course, then you just leave the cart in the middle of the parking lot. Now, if that's what religion really is, why the weird clothes? Why do you have to wash your hands so many times? These real estate religions that are still around, they have survived by being conservative. What do religions do? They conserve. They conserve the clothes. What else do they conserve? They conserve ancient physical actions, getting on your knees to pray, lighting candles. Why are candles considered more appropriate to religious ritual than light bulbs? Because they didn't have light bulbs when the rituals were invented. And all of this used to have some sort of general meaning that would have, not seemed weird. Why do religions suggest that you bow to pray? Well, our society does not bow. Bowing, like waving, is a kind of submission offering. You bow to someone who has the right to kill you because they could, weapon you in the back of the head. You're showing them a sensitive part of your body, not looking at them, averting your eyes, and basically they are in the position, the physical position, to do whatever they want to you because you can't see them. So this is for, your Lord, your superior, your better. You're submitting in case he wants to beat you down. So yeah, Allah, God, you're making it easier for him to hit you in the back of the head. But once again, God can't hit you in the back of the head because he's real, but he doesn't exist. So this had a practical meaning at one time, and like a lot of things we do, we continue to do it ignorantly for the sake of society. It doesn't literally make sense because God's not the type of thing that can hit you in the back of the head, but the metaphor is repeated anyway. Religion and ideology, these are terms that I think are largely interchangeable, where you do things and you don't know why. You do them because the code is the right thing to do. But we have turned, unfortunately, the words religion and ideology into mental activities that are just about what you are saying to yourself about what you're doing rather than what you are doing. You know that old phrase, actions speak louder than words? This is the kernel of the meaning of religion for me. Believing is not a mental activity where you grant your assent to some proposition. Religion's what you do. So take everything I've said from religion, you can just paste it onto what we say about ideology too. We think that ideology has a marketplace. There's conservative and liberal and left-wing, and you go into the grocery store of ideologies and you pick the one that just feels best to you. I don't think so. Ideology is demonstrated in what you do. And what do they do? Whether you're a radical, a Muslim, a liberal, a Christian, all of them stand in the same line politely at the grocery store. When they stop standing in line politely at the grocery store, that's when you're worried, because it means your society is falling apart. All of them, they go into the correct washrooms. They all wash their hands, at least if someone else is looking. They all wear clean clothes, even if they're weird. They all act politely. For the most part, it's about not causing the scene. This applies to atheists, right? Just as much as the rest of them. All right, that's gonna be my video. There's links if you want to hear more from me. I haven't actually stopped posting except on public YouTube. So, yep. Thank you to all these people. We're gonna keep going. Cheers.
The 17th century, I can imagine a Dr. Strangelove taking over the world. In our world, it's far more likely to be Greta Thunberg. The Greta future.
Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg's on a boat.
Greta Thunberg.
God will not leave us eternally being lectured by Greta Thunberg, right? He will not abandon us.